If there is one thing that I should never be underestimated on, it would be my ability to be completely wrong. I made a video just earlier this week about why you shouldn't buy Bitcoin, and then everything changed. Everything changed. That's what this video is all about. Earlier this week, I put out a video on 6 reasons why you shouldn't buy Bitcoin, specifically because, well, Bitcoin's a bad investment. I kind of hold my ground on those reasons. However, Elon Musk steps in with his personal vendetta against me, sarcasm everybody, and he ruins it all. Now, I'm not talking about PayPal, which he created. I'm not talking about Tesla. I'm not talking about SolarCity, SpaceX, the Hyperloop, his flamethrower, the underground tunnels he builds. I mean, he creates a lot of crazy stuff. But one thing he did this week, Monday of this week, is he bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin, and it changes the entire game. So I admit that it wasn't Elon Musk that actually spent $1.5 billion on Bitcoin. It was technically Tesla who did it. But Elon Musk is in charge of Tesla, so it's 100% his responsibility, his choice on what he did, right? Now, $1.5 billion represents about 15% of the size of Tesla. That's a massive, massive investment in a cryptocurrency, and it's completely unprecedented. But to understand why, I feel like we need to give a little bit of context. To give this full context, we need to cover a little bit of history, especially around the US government and its relationship with money and specifically taxation. In 1910, so we started in 1776, in 1910, we end up with this special little meeting that took place on a place called Jekyll Island. Now, there's a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island that goes into greater detail. But at this meeting, they essentially formed the Federal Reserve Bank. And this is private citizens. This is not a government institution that puts this together. They come together and create one central bank for the United States. Now, just a few years later, in 1913, the government introduced income tax. Believe it or not, up until this point, from the founding of our country, up until 1913, we weren't charged income tax. There was some taxes on like items that were being sold, where they would say, if you want to buy that, you need to pay a couple percentages to the government. And it was really designed to incentivize people not to buy certain things. However, once 1913 hit, and they said, you know what, we're gonna take a percentage of what you earn. They hid this tax. They made it kind of secretive. They made it so it only affected the super, super, super rich. They also made it very, very small. They made it like 1%. And they said it was going to exist for a very, very short period of time. But as Milton Friedman said, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government solution. And so this went on and it grew, not just covering the rich, it's now covering all of us. In fact, most of us pay 30 to 40% of our income in taxes every single year. I know you might be surprised that it's that much money, but you put it all together and it adds up to being a lot. The next big moment that took place happens in 1971, where the US takes money away from the gold standard. Up until that point, dollar bills were backed by gold. You could turn in money and you could get gold in return. That was basically the guarantee of money. And that was really, really important because gold has inherent utility to it. We use gold in all kinds of things. We use it in cell phones. We use it in technology. Aerospace industry uses it. It's used all over the place. So it was important that our currency was backed by some form of utility. When they separated our gold from the gold standard in 1971, suddenly it was just our faith that made us hold on to the value that was the dollar bill. This was a monumental moment, but maybe what just took place with Elon Musk might be the next big moment. This might be the moment that in 100 years from now, when people are going back through the history books, this might be the moment that they look back at and go, well, you know what? In 2021, in February of 2021, Elon Musk bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin and it changed everything. So what does any of this freedom business have to do with Elon Musk buying $1.5 billion in crypto? And to answer that, I've got to change my location a little bit. I've got to change my scenery because I need to explain it with a whiteboard. So here's what it has to do with it. Our country was initially founded on the basis of freedom. We're all about being free, and that's really, really important to our country. In fact, It's what we're all about. We were essentially under repression and we broke free. I mean, our founding fathers did, of the United States. If you're somewhere else, then play along with me. So we basically broke free, and that's one pillar of it. The second pillar of it is money. Generally, the freest societies in the world make the most money. And so once we were a free society, we started becoming industrial mavericks. Mavericks? Mavic is a drone. Maverick is what we became financially. So we became financial mavericks. We started producing tons of stuff. We became the place that everybody wanted to move to because you had an opportunity to create a business and a lifestyle that was going to change your world. So we did really, really well financially. However, most countries that do very, very well financially, they end up having a bigger footprint on the planet. They also end up being a bigger target and getting involved in a lot more war. And that is the third pillar of this. Here's the deal. Any country is allowed to have two of these three things, but you can't have all three. If a country wants to be free and have a great deal of money, well, they can't afford the expense of war. If a country wants to have a lot of money and be at war, well, they're going to have to tax their people in order to do that, which means that their people are not going to be very free. And if they want their people to be free and be at war, they're going to be broke. Did I already say that one? I can't even remember. Anyways, you get the point. You get to have two of these three items at any given point if you're a country. And unfortunately, money is one of the best ways to control the freedom of an individual. That's why blockchain, that's why Bitcoin was such a big promise. Now, if you're interested in living in a free society, the thing you should do is remove war so that money stops being a problem, because war seems to be the biggest drain on liberty and finances. However, if you can control the money, you can also control the purse strings for the war, and that is what Bitcoin does. Last year, the United States government printed up, get this, about 25% of all of the money that the US government has was printed last year. It's a little less than that, but still, it's over 20%. Over 1/5 of all of the money that the US government has ever created was made last year. This is a major cause for concern because that's exactly how inflation takes place. So, what did Elon Musk really do when he essentially bought all that Bitcoin? Is he placed a huge vote against the dollar bill. He basically said, you know what? I don't trust it anymore. It's not backed by gold, it's not backed by anything, it doesn't have inherent value, and the value is going down because the government's printing on it. So I don't trust that it's going to be a secure place for me to keep my money. And this is a really big, important thing. So what I really think Elon has done here is started a trend. He was the first in a line of dominoes. Now, obviously there was the early adopters, but such a massively large investment that he put in on such a large scale from such a big celebrity and such a smart person is going to cause a lot of other people to invest largely into Bitcoin and probably other blockchain technologies. First, I'm expecting that large businesses might join in with him because they're privately owned oftentimes, sometimes they're publicly owned, but the board can decide to do what they want with their excess revenue. And I think a lot of them might be hedging their bet against the dollar by investing heavily into Bitcoin. But then I think we're going to see others jump in too. Large retirement funds, IRAs, mutual funds, things of that nature are probably going to put their money in there. And then after that, I believe we're probably going to see municipalities jump in as well, which, local governments investing away from the dollar bill that the federal government wants everybody to be using. It's not that Elon Musk has taken away people's faith in the dollar bill. It's specifically that he has given people faith in cryptocurrency, in Bitcoin. Now that people will look at his example, they're going to follow. And as they follow, the price of Bitcoin is going to increase. This is really, really bad news for the dollar, which is already losing value all the time. So the dollar is going to go down in value, Bitcoin's going to go up in value, and more people are going to trust Bitcoin and less are going to trust the dollar, which is going to make this inflationary period that we're going through even worse. I don't know exactly how this is going to end. Here's my guess. I think the government is specifically going to freak out as the dollar bill becomes less used and as crypto becomes more used. They're going to find ways of trying to control it. But as Gandhi said, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win, something like that. As he said something in those regards, I think the government is going to do something very similar. I think they've been laughing at Bitcoin this entire time. And I think that's about to shift gears to a point where they're going to have to fight against it. They're going to have to find ways of regulating it, of controlling it, of tracking it, if they intend on being able to tax the citizens and maintain their control as much as they have been over the last, 100 years. What's absolutely crazy about this is that while the dollar bill is based on no value except the value we decide to give it, it's really only based off of how much people think it's worth. It's not backed by gold anymore. Neither is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not backed by anything. I made a video about it, but because it's not backed by anything, it's amazing that so much faith is now induced into Bitcoin. Now, I 100% really strongly encourage people to use cryptocurrency because it's not centrally controlled by any particular agency, at least not yet, at least not for now, and I hope it stays that way. Bitcoin is definitely better than the dollar in so many ways, but it's still not backed by anything, and because of that, I still remain a little skeptical. The truth is, I guess now at this point, what Bitcoin is really backed by is it's backed by Elon Musk and his belief in it. But I think it's also going to be backed by the belief that so many other people have by their trust in Elon Musk. In the same way that companies hire celebrities to endorse their products, I think this has been the biggest advertisement for Bitcoin ever done, and Elon Musk is a massive celebrity endorsement for Bitcoin. So if you watched my video and sold off all your Bitcoin right as Elon Musk was buying his, I'm sorry, don't take my advice for it. These are my opinions. They're well-educated opinions, and it doesn't change all the facts that I gave in that last video. If you want to check that video out, here's a link. I think it's a really fantastic video to understand currency at a deeper level so that you know what you're investing in, what you're not investing in, and what you should look for. And maybe most importantly, it tells you what you should invest in, which is yourself. Spoiler alert, go watch that video. It'll explain it. Hey, if you're enjoying these videos, please invest in me. Hit subscribe. I need more subscribers. I'm a new channel. So hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Hit the bell, and please share it with people that will find it valuable. I will see you on the next video.